What's up, everybody? This is Kenny from Oddzuki.com, and I'm going to do another reaction video to a movie that just came out. And today I'm doing The Mummy with Tom Cruise. I don't know where to start with this one, though, because I wanted to like it. I wanted to, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to go right out the gate. This movie was a mess. Okay, so, hold up. I understand what Universal's trying to do. They want to do this is supposed to be their first movie in several in their dark universe. This is supposed to be bringing back all the old monster movies of like your old classic cinema, The Mummy and Creature from the Black Lagoon and Dracula and all these other, all of the old one, Wolfman, all these old movies are supposed to be making a resurgence in the modern world and connecting them all together. Whether Tom Cruise is the one that is the connecting piece for it, or whether or not Russell Crowe, who plays Dr. Jekyll in The Mummy, is supposed to be like the Nick Fury, Sam Jackson version of assembling all the monsters together. I don't know if he'll be the main tie, but again, the movie was a mess. I'm sorry. I can see why it's getting destroyed in the box office this weekend by Wonder Woman, which still amazing flick, but I would have been better off going and seeing that instead, and I'm actually going to be taking my daughter to see that today, but regardless, I just can't. You guys see me grabbing my hat. My review system, apparently, from my last video is how many times I take my hat off is the example of how good a movie is. Well, my hat is staying firmly in place here for this review. Okay, let's go through it really quick. The actors, I think they did the best with what they had. The movie's directed by Alex Kurtzman, sorry, and it stars Tom Cruise as Nick Morton, and he is a military long-range surveillance guy, but also is kind of like George Clooney in Three Kings, where he's going in and just, while he's doing all these long-range surveillance, he's actually going in with his buddy Vale, played by Jake Johnson, and they're going in and just stealing stuff and selling it on the black market. So that's kind of how the movie just automatically sets up. It's Morton and Vale, and they're trying to find treasure in Iraq. And they're supposed to be doing long-range surveillance. They're way off course, and now they're under attack. This movie sets up several different set pieces for Tom Cruise to do what he loves doing best in movies, running. He runs so much in this movie. It's like Mission Impossible without the gadgets. Just monsters and sand. But then again, Mission Impossible had sand chasing him as well. So it's kind of like synergistic. But I mean, the movie, within the first 10 minutes, well, I say 15 minutes, Tom Cruise is running already. And now, the one thing I will say about Tom Cruise is he likes to do the majority of his own stunts. And he's a little bit cuckoo about that, which is totally fine, because that in my opinion, is kind of dedication, also slightly crazy. But he's still built, even though he's not a spring chicken anymore, he's still built for action movies, which I think is really good. I mean, there's a scene that we've seen in all the previews where he wakes up in a body bag from the big set piece of the plane crashing, which was done really well. I will give it that. The effects in this movie are pretty good, but the big set piece plane crash that we've all seen in the preview, which they filmed in a genuine vomit comet, where the plane goes up and then it goes down and creates zero gravity. They filmed actually in zero-G, which was cool. And then you see the scene where, the plane crashes and he wakes up in a body bag, rips it open, and it's essentially Captain America without a shirt on. I mean, dude is just Diesel in this, when he wakes up, which, okay, it's, again, he's showcasing that he's still fit for action movies, and maybe that was just a little bit of eye candy for anyone that really adores Tom Cruise. But still, alright, we're going back to the acting with it. He is in it for the action pieces, and sometimes he tries to throw out some comedic lines, which typically, like if you saw Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder, And if you, I mean, there have been several movies where he does have some really good, he has comedic timing, but this one, it just kind of fell flat, in my opinion. His buddy, Vale, he has a few funny lines in there as well, but again, they're kind of playing those two guys that have the ulterior motives to their character, and then of course throughout the progression of the story, Tom Cruise's character grows into someone that actually cares. Kind of reminds me of that scene in Rick and Morty where Ice-T is like, "I care again, you made me care." Similar to that, but different. Anyway, you also have, let's talk about The Mummy. Well, actually, no, before we go to The Mummy, because she's the last one I want to touch on. Courtney B. Vance, it plays the Colonel. He kind of plays the stereotypical Colonel. You know, he's the superior that comes walking in and he's barking orders, and he doesn't have time for anyone's crap. And spoilers, he doesn't last too long in the movie. And then you have Tom Cruise's female counterpart throughout the movie, played by Annabelle Wallis, and she plays a character named Jenny. And see, and the thing is, I almost forgot her name because I really wasn't invested that much in most of these characters, if not all of them. The only character that I was really, really invested in was played by, what's her name? Sofia Boutella. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, Sofia Boutella. And she plays Aminette. She's the mummy. And she is, I would say she's the draw of the movie. Now I've followed some of her work in the past. She's a dancer, like a really, really good dancer. She was in Kingsman. She was the one with the razor feet in Kingsman, and she was, she was good in that. She was also in the latest Star Trek movie. She was the character that had all the, she was one of the aliens that teams up with Kirk, and so she has really good movement. She was perfect, be it with her dance background, she was perfect for some of the unnatural movements that they had the mummy doing. And, her motivations were, very, very similar to, like, the 1990s. Well, there wasn't too many parallels to the 1990s mummy movie. But what I will say is, whatever you guys are making, I'm talking to any Hollywood person that would happen to maybe possibly look at this video, any of you writers out there, if you're making a mummy movie, you don't have to throw in the scene where the sand is coming out and then all of a sudden the face of the mummy shows up in the sand like it's devouring everyone. That's a trope that you don't need to use. I mean, it would be... Again, this is another set piece for Tom Cruise to run away from. You have all the glass breaking and whatnot, and then you got the big sandstorm coming, and then you got the mummy's face in there, and it's just like, you kind of roll your eyes. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I like action movies. Sometimes I like dumb action movies. I'll watch some of the worst, like the 1-star, half-a-star rated action movies on Netflix just to see how bad they are and maybe laugh. And this one didn't really go from that so bad it's good side. It was just like, I think at the very baseline of it, I just wasn't invested in the movie. And I tried. I wanted to. I love the idea and the concept of large-scale universes that connect all these different movies all together. I'm working on a video here in a little bit about connecting the DC universe with the TV universe and merging them together because they would make billions of dollars. But that being said, I just don't know whether or not this one is going to be able to continue to really hold everyone, or hold everyone's attention. It's getting slaughtered at the box office right now, and I know they want to throw in Dracula. Spoilers: there's a scene where Tom Cruise is walking through Dr. Jekyll's his lab and whatnot, and you see all these different skulls, and there's a skull of a vampire in there. So it's kind of like letting you know that there's going to be a larger world coming here. But I don't know whether or not they're going to greenlight it if it continues to go like this. I mean, then again, they may already be contracted, so who knows. But again, this there's one thing I'll say about this. I started getting drowsy toward the end of it. And, there's a big action set piece toward the end of the movie where, you have Tom Cruise fighting against Sofia Boutella. And, they're, of course, this is some of the scenes that you see in the preview where they're getting slammed up against walls and she's beating the crap out of them, and at the very end... All right, I'm going into spoiler territory. There's three things that I want to speak about in like 20 seconds. So if you don't want to have spoilers, skip for a little bit or skim, or if you don't care, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. 3 scenes that I actually really, really dug. One was at the very beginning, was when they were explaining, or when Jenny is explaining the actual, the find of when they find the tomb of the mummy. And she explains that it's not a burial tomb, it's a prison. You have all the different people sitting there and they have it buried in mercury, which apparently Egyptians had really just a heavy load of mercury that they could use to submerge a tomb in. But the whole Rube Goldberg machine that they used to pull that up, that was pretty cool. And then, of course, you have all the spiders that come out and they start biting people. Oh, one person. Anyway, second thing that I liked, that actually that's one thing. The audience was silent for the majority of this movie. When there was comedic moments, or even when there was supposed to be like a moment, there was no reaction. Except for 2 times, and the second time I'll explain is the third thing I want to talk about. But the second time was there's a scene in the woods where it's a kind of a bit of a chase scene, and Tom Cruise turns around and there goes the mummy, and boom, big old uppercut. He flies up in the air, boom, lands on the ground, and everyone thought that was hilarious because again he wasn't expecting it. So that one was a little bit of a nice little deal. But then the last thing was what kind of made me really sour to this movie. I was getting drowsy toward the end of it, and again, big spoiler. Jenny, she seemingly dies. She's held captive by Aminette, and Tom Cruise, he beats, he wins, he's triumphant, he's had to sacrifice part of himself, he's now, and again, spoilers, huge spoilers, he's now half monster, if you will. He's a hybrid, and he's trying to wake her up, and he's using his half monster powers to get into her mind, and he's sitting there and he just yells, "Wake up!" at her. And honestly, that's kind of what woke me up. It was like I was really, really bored, and it was almost as if they wrote that in the script. It's like, people are going to be kind of bored by the end of this movie, so let's have Tom Cruise yell "wake up" so that they know the movie's almost done. I'm sorry if that's harsh, but that's kind of how it felt. And then at the very end, you have, and this was the part that's supposed to start linking things up, you have Tom Cruise, he disappears out into the desert, and he's half, he's half human, half monster, or maybe he's full monster, who knows. He's carrying essentially the Egyptian god of death inside of him, and he has like the whole two eyeballs thing kicking, 4 I should say, and Russell Crowe is like, it took a monster to beat a monster, and it just, he waxes poetic about how, this is, maybe he'll find his way back to humanity or whatever. And maybe maybe he's going to be, him and Russell Crowe are going to be kind of the centerpieces of the universe. Who knows? But honestly, I didn't care. The movie ended and I was just like, okay. So this movie does not get the hats off treatment. Okay, no. You know what? I'll give it 2 hats off for Sofia Boutella. I think she was I wouldn't say breakout star. She's the one that stands out the most in this movie. And as it should, because she is the title character. She is the mummy. I don't think this should really be a full-on Tom Cruise vehicle, if you will. I know he's kind of the centerpiece as the antagonist of the movie and the or what, I don't know. It's just, it was a mess. You don't know whether or not it's supposed to be like an anti-hero type of thing versus the as you I ain't got nothing to say really, and unfortunately it's not in a good way like Wonder Woman. So if you have the opportunity to go see a movie, maybe, in my opinion, wait for this one for Netflix, because it's just, it's not even a spectacle. I mean, I'm sure it might have some really cool stuff 3D. Just went and saw it a regular 2D, but it just didn't have a lot there for me. And who knows? Everyone's different. Reviews are reviews for a reason. Just given I'm just giving my personal aspect on it. So again, 2 hats off for The Mummy, but I would say 2 reluctant hats off for The Mummy. Anyway, going to take my daughter to see Wonder Woman. She's 14 years old. Be on the lookout for our next review. It's going to be her and I. This is essentially going to be the first episode of what we're going to call Nerd Dad Geek Daughter. We're going to go take a look at Wonder Woman and get her opinion and talk about it a little bit later on tonight and post that up as soon as we can. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to head on over to Oddzuki.com, ODDZUKI. And if you're watching this video, please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys on the next video. Later. And I don't know what that was. That's weird.